Every single day, 250,000 people pass through Terminal 3 at Dubai International. They move through corridors of polished marble, past duty-free counters stocked with things that cost more than most people earn in a month, toward gates that connect to over 240 destinations worldwide. It is the busiest international airport on the planet. Has been for over a decade. And right now something is quietly pulling that record apart at the seams. Not a war, not an economic crash, not a scandal, something far more structural, far more permanent. This is not about a bad quarter or a turbulent season. This is about a system that was engineered for a world that may no longer exist. And an airline so intertwined with that system that when one starts to fracture, the other absorbs the shock in ways that never make the headline. Today we dissect 3 layers of what is actually happening at Dubai International. The visible signs, the structural pressure beneath them, and the deeper question about what this airport was always built on. If you leave before the 3rd layer, you will miss the part that changes how you read every future announcement coming out of Dubai. The kind of person watching this already suspects the official story is incomplete. That instinct is exactly why this channel exists. Start with what you can see. Dubai International handles more international passengers than any other airport in the world. In 2023, it processed 92.3 million passengers, surpassing its pre-pandemic peak. The numbers looked like a full recovery. They looked like proof that the model worked. Emirates, the flag carrier and the single largest operator at the airport, carried nearly 60 million passengers through its hubs that same year, posting a profit of $2.9 billion. The language around these figures was triumphal, resilient, unstoppable. But look at the infrastructure those passengers are moving through. Terminal 2, the older facility on the northern side of the airfield, handles low-cost and regional carriers. It was built for a different era of aviation. Its capacity ceiling is structurally fixed. No renovation changes that. Terminal 3, the Emirates Fortress, stretches across a footprint of 1.7 million square meters and was designed to handle an annual capacity of approximately 43 million passengers on its own. The airport as a whole was designed to handle a combined throughput of roughly 90 million passengers per year, and it has been operating above the design limit for several consecutive years. You do not need an engineering degree to understand what happens to any system that runs above its design ceiling for long enough. Gates are shared. Turnaround times are compressed. Ground crews work in windows that leave no margin for delay. A single weather disruption in a connecting hub does not create a ripple. It creates a cascade. An Emirates with its fleet of over 250 wide-body aircraft all funneling through one airport has no geographic fallout position. Every aircraft it operates, every passenger it connects, every ton of cargo it moves flows through a single point of failure. That point is Dubai International. Would you build the most ambitious airline in the world on top of an airport that cannot expand fast enough to match it? The engineers who designed the original master plan said no. They said it 30 years ago. And the answer that came back was not a redesign. It was a second airport. Al Maktoum International Airport, located in the Jebel Ali district roughly 40 kilometers south of the city, was announced as the solution. When its master plan was last formally updated in 2023, the projected capacity was 160 million passengers per year at full build-out. 160 million. That figure would make it the largest airport ever constructed by a single project. The original runway system is operational. A handful of cargo and charter movements already use it, but the passenger terminal that would allow Emirates to begin transferring operations has not been completed. In June 2023, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum announced an accelerated 128 billion dirham development plan that is approximately $35 billion to bring the facility to a point where Emirates could begin migration. The target date for the first phase of meaningful passenger operations was set for 2035. That is over a decade away. Which means Dubai International must keep performing above its design capacity for another decade with aging infrastructure, with a fleet that keeps growing with passenger volumes that the airport's own operators admit are unsustainable at the current intensity of use. In March 2024, a single extreme rainfall event brought the airport to a near standstill. Flooded aprons, grounded aircraft, passengers stranded for up to 36 hours inside terminals that were not designed for emergency mass accommodation. The images circled the world. Emirates issued public apologies. The Dubai government deployed emergency water pumping teams, and within 72 hours the official narrative had pivoted to the unprecedented nature of the storm. But here is what the storm actually revealed. The drainage infrastructure beneath one of the world's busiest airports was designed for a climate baseline that no longer applies. The airport was built for a desert. The desert is changing. And the engineering assumptions baked into every layer of Dubai International's physical plant were made in a world with a different meteorological contract. Leave the terminal floor and look at something smaller, something human-sized. Tariq Mansour spent 11 years as a ground handling supervisor at Dubai International, arriving from Lahore in 2012 with a technical diploma and a contract that promised more than he had ever earned at home. By 2022, he was overseeing a team of 34, managing the turnaround of Emirates wide-body flights on a schedule that allowed a margin of approximately 12 minutes between the last departing passenger and the first arriving one. 12 minutes. In that window, his team cleaned cabins, loaded catering, replaced safety cards, checked equipment, and prepared the aircraft for the next sector. He told interviews from an aviation labor research group in 2023 that the schedule had become, in his words, a fiction we all agreed to maintain. When the rain came in March 2024, his team worked a 41-hour continuous shift. Not because they were ordered to, because the aircraft would not move otherwise, and the system had no reserve. His story is not exceptional. It is the operational reality of every ground crew member at an airport running 20% above its design passenger capacity with a staffing model calibrated to normal conditions, and the passengers absorbing those delays are not all leisure travelers. Dubai International's strategic value to the Emirates network is its position as a sixth freedom hub. The technical term for a hub that connects passengers between two foreign countries via a third. A traveler flying from London to Sydney does not need to go through Dubai. Dubai has made it worth their while to do so. Competitive fares, consistent connections, a product that for a long decade was simply better than the alternative. But that competitive advantage depends on one thing above all others: reliability. When a traveler misses a connection in Dubai because the apron is flooded, or because the gate assignment system buckled under load, or because the turnaround crew was on hour 37 of a shift, they do not file a complaint. They rebook through Doha or Singapore or Istanbul. The competitors are not sleeping. Qatar Airways has invested systematically in Hamad International Airport, which in 2023 received the SkyRA's World's Best Airport Award for the third consecutive year. Its capacity ceiling is 50 million passengers per year, with an expansion underway to bring it to 80 million by 2027. Turkish Airlines operating out of Istanbul Airport, a facility that opened in 2019 and was designed from the ground up for a post-pandemic traffic model, now serves over 340 destinations globally. It is gaining sixth freedom market share on routes that Emirates once considered untouchable. This is the moment in this story that most analyses skip. The threat to Dubai International is not the storm. It is not the infrastructure age. It is the competitive erosion of the trust premium that justified the inconvenience of flying through a single-point hub. When that premium erodes, it does not announce itself. Passengers simply stop choosing Dubai quietly, one routing at a time. Do you notice when your loyalty to a system shifts? Or does it happen so gradually that you only realize it after the choice has already been made? Emirates understands this better than any outside analyst. The airline's response has been a product investment cycle of remarkable intensity. The rollout of its retrofitted Boeing 777 fleet with the new premium economy cabin completed across the majority of its long-haul routes by late 2024 was a direct response to the squeeze from competitors offering better interiors at comparable price points. The investment ran into the billions, and it works at the product level. The seat is better, the food is better. The service training has been deepened, but none of that changes the taxiway congestion at 2 o'clock in the morning when 16 wide-body aircraft are queued for departure and the slot system is 40 minutes behind schedule. There is a version of this story where Al Maktoum International opens on schedule in 2035. Emirates executes the largest airline migration in aviation history without a significant operational disruption, and Dubai retains its position as the undisputed center of global aviation connectivity. That version exists. The planning documents support it. The investment numbers support it. But construction megaprojects of this scale in any country in any era do not deliver on time without compression somewhere. Either the timeline extends or the cost inflates or the specification is trimmed. Occasionally all three simultaneously. The construction of Heathrow's Terminal 5 took 20 years from approval to opening. The expansion of Frankfurt Airport's Terminal 3, announced in 2006, opened in 2023, 17 years later. Dubai builds faster than either of those systems. But $35 billion of airport across 40 kilometers of desert with the intention of absorbing operations from the busiest international airport on Earth without interrupting them is not a project that forgives optimism. If the first meaningful passenger phase of Al Maktoum slips from 2035 to 2038, Dubai International must continue absorbing above-capacity load for 23 consecutive years past its own design limits. What does any infrastructure system look like after 23 years of overuse? The silence around that question is louder than any press release. There is a Sophia Andersen, a Danish logistics consultant based in Copenhagen who routes her monthly Dubai transits twice a year for Asia-Pacific client visits. She switched from Emirates to Qatar Airways in January 2024 after her second consecutive missed connection at Dubai International. Both attributed to ground delays. She is not angry at Emirates. She actually said that in a published account. She is simply rational. The reliability math changed and she adjusted accordingly. Her contract spend on premium cabin fares represents roughly $38,000 annually. Multiply her profile by a few hundred 000 equivalent travelers globally and you begin to understand why Emirates watches its load factor data on Sixth Freedom routes with an intensity that its public communications never fully reflect. The deepest layer is this. Dubai International was not built to serve a city. It was built to create one. The logic of modern Dubai runs in the opposite direction from most great cities. Most cities develop, accumulate density and wealth and eventually build an airport to serve what already exists. Dubai built the airport and the airline and the infrastructure of global connectivity first, and the city grew to inhabit what the airport made possible. The entire economic model, the tourism, the financial services, the luxury real estate, the trade flows rests on the assumption of uninterrupted high-quality global connectivity at competitive prices. The airport is not a feature of Dubai. It is the load-bearing wall. When that wall shows cracks, they are not visible from the outside. The marble is still polished. The terminals are still full. The Emirates livery still lines the gates in perfect rows. But behind the operational data, behind the shift logs, behind the slot management requests filed with air traffic control at 3 o'clock in the morning, a different picture assembles itself quietly and without ceremony. The question is not whether Dubai can build Al Maktoum International on time and within specification. Dubai has built things that seemed impossible before. The question is what the gap between now and then costs. Not in money, but in the accumulated decisions of millions of travelers who are never asked and never answer, but simply choose. Some walls do not fall. They just quietly stop holding as much weight as they used to. If this kind of analysis, the kind that goes beneath the record numbers and the architectural spectacle and finds the structural question nobody in the press conference is asking, is what you came here for, then you belong in this community. Like this video if it gave you something to think about that the official story skipped. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell to be here when the next piece of this picture assembles itself. And share this with someone who books long-haul flights, invests in aviation, or simply believes that the biggest risks are always the ones performing the loudest. The content of this video is based on strategic analysis reports, estimated data, and hypothetical scenarios regarding the economic and geopolitical context. The information is provided for reference purposes, independent analysis, and documentary storytelling. It does not constitute financial, legal, or investment advice. The images and materials used serve to illustrate the arguments presented.